Welcome! Previously, we have discussed about food hazards caused by microorganisms. Besides microorganisms, another agent that can prevail as hazard to food is chemical substances. Data from Global Environment Monitoring System's Food Contamination Monitoring and Assessment Program shows that since 1976, chemical contamination rarely occurred in developed countries. However, the prevalence of chemical contamination is still high in developing countries since they do not have strict regulation and accurate surveillance. Therefore, in this session, we will introduce various chemical hazards mostly reported in posing risk to human health. Our food has been through different stages prior to consumption, including production, harvesting, processing, distribution, storage, and cooking. Chemical substances can contaminate food throughout the stages. For instance, environmental contamination of water, air, and soil during production may expose toxic substances to plants and animals. One of the substances causing environmental contamination is agrochemicals, such as pesticides and antibiotics, which are still widely used in most countries. Long-term and low-level exposure to chemical contaminants can lead to many diseases, including neurological damage, birth defects, and cancer. Although it is rare, acute exposures to foodborne chemicals have resulted in large-scale outbreaks, sometimes with irreversible health damage and enormous economic costs. Regular and accurate surveillance on chemical contamination is essential to reduce its occurrence and protect public health. Hazardous chemicals come from various sources, such as industrial and environmental waste. Dioxin and heavy metals are the most known chemicals causing serious impact to human health. In addition, there are natural toxic chemicals produced by particular plants and derived from microorganisms such as fungi. Moreover, improper chemical usage can occur during and after production, such as the usage of pesticide and antibiotic, as well as excessive usage of additive in our food. Other than that, there are still chances of contamination. These contaminants come as a form of processing byproduct. To those who are sensitive, low amount of particular chemicals can cause allergic that endanger their life. Natural processes and modern industries produce substantial amount of chemical pollutants as shown in this slide. Dioxins can be found as unwanted byproducts of industrial processes, but can also be resulted from natural processes such as volcanic eruptions and forest fires. More than 90% of human exposure is through food, mainly meat and dairy products, fish, and shellfish. Dioxins are highly toxic and can cause reproductive and developmental problems, damage the immune system, interfere with hormones, and also cause cancer. Mercury occurs naturally in the Earth's crust. It is released into the environment from volcanic activity, weathering of rocks, and as a result of human activity. Once in the environment, mercury can be transformed by bacteria into methylmercury, in which then builds up in vegetables, fish, and shellfish. Important sources of lead contamination include mining, smelting, painting, and vehicle emission. Lead exposure may affect the development of the brain and nervous system, increase risk of high blood pressure and kidney damage, and cause miscarriage, stillbirth, premature birth, and low birth weight. Cadmium exerts toxic effects on the kidney, the skeletal, and the respiratory systems, and is classified as a human carcinogen. It is generally present in the environment at low levels. However, human activity has greatly increased those levels. Many plants are naturally contain chemical toxins to human and animal. This chemical is secondary substance that used to protect the plant from predator so that the plant will be safe. Several plants such as cassava and red kidney beans should be properly cooked before consumption. Mycotoxin is a toxin produced by molds that cause extraordinary event of mycotoxicosis. Several mycotoxicosis cases in human and livestock occur due to consumption of moldy foods. Mycotoxin also related to various chronic diseases including cancer. FAO estimated 25% of food plants in the world are contaminated by mycotoxins, and various studies estimated 10 to 50% of plants in Asia and Africa are contaminated by molds. More than 300 mycotoxins have been identified. Aflatoxin is one of the mycotoxins that are mostly studied since 1960 and reported as the cause of poisoning. This slide shows several mycotoxins and the affected organ once it is consumed. Aflatoxin is carcinogenic substance that generally cause liver cancer in human and animal. Exposure of aflatoxin to person with hepatitis B can increase the risk of liver cancer. Ochratoxin A affect the kidney and cause kidney impairment in human. Trichoticin's exposure on human cause various symptoms including dermatitis, cough, rhinitis, and nosebleed. However, the main cause is immunity decrease. Ergot alkaloids not only cause acute symptoms but also gut impairment. Zearalenone is associated to ureter and estrogen impairment. JFA, or Joint FAO-WHO Expert Committee on Food Additives, conducted aflatoxin risk assessment quantitatively based on epidemiology research on human. Codex Alimentarius Commission established the limits as international standard for mycotoxin in corn, peanuts, milk, and others. Many developing countries adopted the standard. However, there are many countries use their own standard as well. The standard is established based on scientific risk assessment of mycotoxin toxicity and potential estimated exposure. For instance, the slide shows estimated standard of aflatoxin in various food products, aflatoxin M1 in milk, ochratoxin A in various food products, and patulin in apple juice. Aflatoxin is the most known mycotoxins produced by Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus, mainly in corn and peanuts. Aflatoxin M is metabolites that mostly found in cow milk and breast milk due to intake of aflatoxin B and G. The amount of median lethal dose or LD50 value in human and animal are varied from 0.5 to 10 mg per kilogram. IARC, or International Agency for Research on Cancer, identified aflatoxin B1 as carcinogenic to human. Contamination of this aflatoxin in food should be as minimum as possible to reduce potential risk. This can be achieved through hygienic post-harvest handling and contamination prevention during production process. Byproduct contaminants are carcinogenic. It can be formed through grilling and roasting process of meat and fish. Poor practices during smoking, grilling, and drying of foods are the most common cause for polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbons contaminations of food. One type of PAH is benzoylpyrene, which is ubiquitous in grilled meat. Food industries attempt to reduce the number of these contaminants gradually. Some countries even banned traditional grilling so that producers have to change to liquid smoke. Carcinogenic heterocyclic amines and mutagenic nitropyrene are created by high-temperature cooking of meat and fish. In foods, nitrosamines are produced from nitrate that react with amines in meat. Nitrate have been added to meat as preservative. However, processing and cooking in high temperature enhance the formation of nitrosamines. Oxidative changes in lipid or oil can not only cause rancidity that affect the palatability, but also produce toxic compounds like peroxide. Ethyl carbamate formed during fermentation and found in beer and liquor such as Scotch whiskey, also in bread, olive oil, soy sauce, and yogurt. Many countries have regulation regarding the use of chemical products for agriculture and established the safe limit. Instruction for use must be stated on the packaging label. In order to reduce the exposure of agrochemicals residue in our food, grace period is established between chemical usage period and harvest or slaughter period. If the chemical product is improperly used or the grace period is not respected, then the particular plant or animal will contain residual or hazardous amount. Usage of agricultural chemicals are promoted in developing countries as effort to increase production. Forbidden chemical products such as DDT and dieldrin are still illegally used. If it is properly used, food additive can increase food quality and prevent food deterioration as well as pathogenic microbe replication, but it can cause hazard when being overused. However, there is also hazard caused by underuse of chemicals, for instance nitrate, to prevent Clostridium botulinum growth in preserved meat. Some food additives like sulfite can cause allergy. There are persons that are sensitive to food additives which actually safe for majority people. Therefore, accurate and complete food composition labels are important because it helps consumer to prevent such cases. This slide shows list of food additives regulated by JECFA and Indonesian government to maintain communities' health. This is the end of this session. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next session.